Okay, so this week what we're doing is we're focusing on one area to see what happens when all of these forces that we've been looking at over the past few weeks collide in colonial Africa. And so we're talking about imperialism, colonization, the growing rise of nationalism, all of the technology coming out of the scientific revolution, the irony of all of these people who are going through the Enlightenment, but then going around the world enslaving people in colonial shackles. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to actually do this again when we go to Israel and Palestine and see again, go to one place in modernity and see how all of the things that we've been talking to have come together and created the debacle that is currently Israel-Palestine. But first we're going to go first here to Africa this week and look at colonial Africa specifically, and the forces that create this. So the first thing we have to understand is that Africa, for reasons of geographic isolation, basically it is very hard to move around Africa, and it has been for eons. So this is the continent with the highest level of diversity when you talk about cultures, languages, even, believe it or not, ethnicities. There are more different types of people on this continent than there are on any other continent, kind of naturally, before the rise of airplanes. So that's what's so amazing about this continent. What that means is you can't talk to each other easily, and you don't want to, because you actually have a lot of ethnic strife as well. Again, because of that geographic isolation, it was not only isolated within the continent, but it was isolated from what was going on in northern Africa, Mediterranean Sea, and Europe because of, the biggest reason of course, the Sahara Desert. It's very hard to cross that. So a lot of the stuff, the wonderful stuff that's going on with the rise of Islam, with the Industrial Revolution, with the Renaissance, all that doesn't get to sub-Saharan Africa. So we have a very low level of technology. And of course we have ethnic strife for reason one above, but also because, and we hinted at this last week, during the slave trade, what would happen was that coastal slave traders who were African would travel into the interior and bring out interior tribes and sell them. And that really doesn't make for good neighborhood relations when you're selling your neighbors. So we have a lot of ethnic strife on the continent. What's motivating the Europeans right now is a growing sense of nationalism. I love my country, and I'm going to do whatever is going to help my country, even if that means that I'm going to hurt your country in the process. This is as these European nations kind of form, they're coming out of these empires and they're really developing a national identity. This is what's happening. We have what's going on, especially in the mid-1800s, is that missionaries and explorers, kind of in the good old days of exploring, are going down to Africa for other reasons, and they're writing home and telling them about all of the amazing things that they're finding. So these guys are writing back, and they're actually publishing these pamphlets about all the gold they're finding and all about the strange cultures that they're encountering. And everyone is fascinated with this strange new world that we've discovered. It's at this period that we have the famous Dr. Livingstone, I presume, adventure, which actually leads to the great horror that was the Congo, indirectly. So we're going down there, we're going to convert them into Christians, and the real reason is it's just like Burger King and McDonald's, because as France goes down, Britain says, oh no, if France is going, we're going to go too. And just like you never see a McDonald's without a Burger King, you're never going to see France go somewhere and Britain not go, and Germany not go, and the Dutch not go. So we have to be all in the same place. What makes this possible? This is all the stuff we've been learning about in the past week. We had gone to South America and found quinine, which actually helps with malaria. We had been going through all of the science and technology boom that we're going through, and now we have railroads and steamships, which allow us to penetrate the interior, just as quinine does, because it used to kill us. Get into the interior and get the raw materials out using the railroads and the steamships. And if any of the Africans decide that they don't want to go along with this, we have better weapons. So these Europeans are bringing down these better weapons, including the Maxim gun and all the new Gatling guns and all of this wonderful ways to kill people. And there simply is no defense against that when you don't have similar technology. What this is happening in is in a context of these kinds of issues. Paternalism. Oh, we need to take care of them because they're not as civilized as we are. Social Darwinism. Oh, they're not as evolved as we are. And so it's not only our right, it's our moral duty to go down and provide for them because we're more civilized. And simple racial superiority. This is racism at its most grotesque and widespread. And so what you see is all these factors coming together. And really, they believed that they were doing the right thing, that this was their duty to go down here and do it. And what you see is actually all the Europeans are going to gather at a table in Berlin in 1883, I believe, and they're going to split up Africa. They're going to actually divvy it up, and the entire continent will be controlled with two exceptions. There are different types of control that are going to be used, and we're going to be looking at those this week. There's direct rule, indirect rule, private company charters. What that means is nobody's really in charge, but a company will go in and they are so invested in the natural resource that they become a quasi-government. And so this is like the British East Asian Company, and of course the Dole Pineapple and Fruit Company in Hawaii. And there are also spheres of influence. So the U.S. and Liberia. We never actually were in control of Liberia, but we acted in a way that meant that nobody else was going to come into Liberia because we were there.